What's up guys, Phoenix here, and today we have another new card from the movie pack that has released over in Japan. Now we're going to start talking about the cubic cards, the cubic archetype, or the Hokai archetype as it's called in Japan. I hope it translates over to cubic, because cubic actually makes sense with the theme of the antagonist that is using the cards in question, as well as it just like sounds really alright, at least to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but anyway, cards we're going to be starting to talk about. This is one of the boss monsters from the new cubic archetype, which is the archetype used by the main antagonist of the new Yu-Gi-Oh movie. His name is Igami, I believe. But all of these cards, this entire archetype looks really solid. I'm really liking how the archetype is shaping up with all the cards that it's been released for it. It actually could potentially possibly be something depending on where the game is when these come out. But we're going to be talking about one of the boss monsters from it, and that is Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Deity, a level 10 Dark Fiend type effect monster with 3,000 attack and 0 defense. Now, this thing has some really good effects. Let's just be down low and completely honest. This thing has some amazing effects. It's very much rightfully so that it is one of the boss monsters of this archetype. But anyway, its effect is must be special summoned from your hand by revealing 3 other cubic cards in your hand with different names and cannot be special summoned by other ways. So it has a High Priestess of Prophecy type summoning condition. That's very good. That's very plausible. That's something that we know is very, very achievable, and it does not use the resources. It just requires them to be there, which is very good. But its 3 effects is this card is unaffected by activated effects from any other monster whose original attack is 3,000 or less. So continuous effects of monsters that are from monsters that are 3,000 or less will still affect this card, but activated effects will not. And it says 3,000 or less, so even things like Dark Destroyer will not be able to affect this card. So that's actually very good. That means a lot of your outs to this card are going to be in the form of spell and trap based monster removal rather than monsters themselves. Now you do have things like Utopia the Lightning. You do have all these other things that can just cause you to boost over it. There are all these other extenuating factors. Like even the Blue Eyes deck can access Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Dragon or whatever, the one that pops face-up cards, and that's an out to this because it has 4,000 attack. But regardless, for the majority of the metagame that we currently have, monster outs are not going to exist to this card. It's going to have very heavily be spell and trap based monster removal in the form of Stormforth, Cosmojo, Mirror Forces, stuff like that. But basically, you can't even Trishula or Ignister this card. That's really cool. But, as I said, continuous effects will still apply to it. Its second effect, if this card destroys a monster by battle, you can activate this effect. This card can make a second attack in a row. So, BLS/Inferno Natandel type card. That's really neat as well. The fact that this card already has an inherent protection against certain things, and then can still just plow through boards by itself, and that effect isn't restricted to all the names. You could easily play multiples of these and clear huge boards of threats rather easily if that's something that you're able to do. I'm not sure what the entire rest of the archetype does, how easily accessible this card is in terms of whether it's searchable or not. I believe it is searchable by at least one card, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked too in depth at the rest of the cubic cards, although they do interest me, because I think the ones that I've read are all very good. The fact that this can still just attack 2 things, and it's 3,000, and it's got its inherent built-in protection, it's very solid. Now its last effect is during your end phase, inflict 3,000 damage to each player. Now that effect is limited to once per turn for all Dark Cubic Deity names, so you can't have 2 of them out and burn each player for 6k. That would be ridiculous. But still, that's just a raw damage burn. And it's large. That's a large damage burn. This card is insane for time, simply because you burn either player, but I mean you just put each other lower so that you can actually kill people, which is really neat. But the fact that it just does 3,000 is ridiculous. All these other cards that do these obscenely large amounts of damage are usually cards that just say half your opponent's life points, do something like that. No, this one's just no, 3,000. You're taking it. So if this card is summoned, and if it exists on the board during the end phase, both you and your opponent are taking 3,000. Now this can actually negatively impact the game if this deck actually becomes a actual contender, simply because of the fact that cards like Ring of Destruction and Self-Destruct Button were rerouted and banned because Konami does not like draws. The way that the way their game is structured, they do not like draws. They do not like cards that promote draws, because that's basically considered, like, in their eyes, basically they consider it like stalling. For some reason, I'm not entirely sure like why that's been the case, but Konami has voiced and expressed a very deep like disinterest and dislike of games ending in draws. That's why self-destruct button is banned. That's why Ring of Destruction was banned for so long before it finally came back, and it was re-errated to where if your life points hit 0 first, you could lose before your opponent takes the burn damage. That's why that entire rule change was made, where you can still lose in the middle of a card resolving if your life points hit 0, and then Ring of Destruction was re-errated to where you take the damage first and then your opponent takes the damage. But this card, simply existing, is another card that can induce unnatural draws, which is something that is going to be a potential problem moving forward in the game if this becomes a relevant deck. Like I said, I haven't read the rest of the archetype, but they all seem really good, and if they all are that good as I'm seeing them to be, then this could potentially be a problem, because of the fact that it's just going to introduce a new way to make unnatural draws. Like, you could literally be playing a match, you win game 1, and then, congratulations, like, your opponent's pushing back on you, but you're both at under 3,000, and you're like, I can't win this game anyway, just summon this card, and then just end the turn, and you both take 3k, and so you go a draw into game 3. And the way Yu-Gi-Oh matches are structured, I don't believe either player can declare that they've won the match until they get 2 wins. So as long as draws keep occurring, you can go into like game 4 and game 5. At least that's the way the old rule set worked back when Ring of Destruction was first legal. I need to check up on the policy documents and make sure that's still a thing. But yeah, like, you would just keep playing until one player has 2 wins, because that's what signifies the winner of a match. It's not, oh, I won 1 and then there's 2 draws and that's all 3 games. I won the 1 game. That only applies in time. But for an actual match, like, if you keep drawing, you can consistently you can feasibly keep going in games unless the policy documents have changed. Again, I need to double check on that, and I will probably leave a comment or something about it or whatever. But I'm pretty sure I'm right that you actually just keep drawing, and the match doesn't actually end until one player gets 2 wins. So that's an issue I see with this card, is that it just does 3,000 damage raw, straight. Like, so it induces unnatural and forced draws, and that's something that Konami's never been a fan of. So the fact that this card is being printed in this way, with this wording, I find a bit strange. But anyway, it is still a very good card, and I'm going to be looking at the other Cubic cards and doing discussion videos on them as well. So if you're interested, definitely keep a lookout for those. But otherwise, that is it for this video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description to my Facebook links, Twitch links, as well as the English proxy that I made that I used in this video. There's an MGR link to it. If you want to download it, you can size it properly for your own printer, print it out, and you can have English proxies. You're welcome. People have been asking me for them, so I started including them in my video descriptions. But other than that, if you want to support me, clicking ads on my videos is more than enough to help. If you can disable your ad blocker, that helps as well. Like, I cannot express how much clicking ads actually just helps me make money, and I cannot lie to you guys about that. But I would be greatly appreciative if that's something you could take the time out of your day to do to help me. But other than that, that's it for this video, and as always, guys, take care.